Okay, so, well, what am I going to say? That was incredible, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible. It gives me goose pimples each time I see it. It just gets better and more detailed. It makes me want to know how he did it, how they did it, how all that collaboration went on. And I want to know frame by frame, well, sequence by sequence. Well, maybe one sequence we'll do this evening. Yeah, we're lucky because we've got a cinematographer here, you know, who knows about this stuff. So I'd like to welcome in Erik Wilson BSC. Please.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for coming.
The Wonder Man, the Wonder Man. Oh, so Erik, a quick dive back in time before we move forward to your work on The Better Man. You were born and brought up in Norway, moved to London in the 90s to study film at the London Film School, graduating as a cinematographer. 10 years later, you were asked to be the cinematographer on the charming and beautiful movie Submarine, with the director Richard Ayoade, which in effect launched your career into the field of independent filmmaking.
Much like this, independent filmmaking.
Yeah, well, independent filmmaking, exactly. A small selection of your work since then would include Tyrannosaur, The Double, 3 outings with Paddington Bear,
CG, animals,
Dark Crystal.
Yes.
Yeah. So the bear really likes you, I can see that. The Landscaper series for the BBC, which won all the main awards for commercial TV that year, for cinematography TV that year, including our own BSC award for Best TV Cinematography. So I think we give a little clap for that. And of course, your most recently released film, Better Man, the only film this year in this year's award screenings that made me weep. Not sad weep, but weep at the amazement, the thrill of the incredible filmmaking, the vision, the flow of the transitions, the visual storytelling, the human journey of a uniquely interesting character, told in not like a standard documentary, but it's more akin to magical realism.
Like in a, yeah.
Yeah, so that was extraordinary. And I had a rough count, you know, of all the crew members, including the post and the CG. And I reckon there were probably 1,000, something like that. I mean, it's an awful lot. I tried to count it. It was screen after
it goes
screen
on.
after
it
screen.
goes on and on.
And you were at the sharp end of that. Well, not always sharp, but you were at that end of it where it was being captured, which laid down the foundation for everything else. And I think we'd like to hear a bit more about how that came about.
Well, thanks for inviting and thanks for coming to the screening. And, you know, I really thoroughly enjoyed, you know, making this film because it was as I said, a very independent film. There was no studio, there was no one, there was no oversight. There was only a director and a wonderful team that he assembled called Michael Gracie. He assembled a great team and that been working with him on commercials, various bits throughout the years. And he saw a film of mine called Submarine, the first one, not the first film, but the first film I'm kind of proud of showing in a way. You know, we all have those. You don't want to, they come later in life as well. And then he was like, oh yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. And he booked me for a commercial. I saw how he worked, which is, I'll tell you a little bit more about. And I really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is quite fun. I haven't worked like this before. Normally my experience of working with on a film is normally director and me quite often in a dark room planning things, and then we go, here, now it's going to be like this. This is not Michael's way. He rehearses and practices, does a bit of this, cuts it together, does a bit of this, cuts that together, does that work? Someone else has an idea. Great, let's bring that in and see how that works. So I was then invited to Australia, of course, which is where this is filmed, obviously, for tax breaks. And so that was in 22, I think.
Okay. So that was the beginning of the process.
The beginning of this, yeah.
Okay. And what led him to you?
I think it was submarine. It was naturalistic. It was the low budget approach,
Okay.
and which seems silly, but the kind of the sentiment behind it all was very, it seems quite crazy. But a lot of it was done in a very, of course, there's CG because there's a monkey in every frame, but a lot of the rest of it is either captured on the day, or we go back another day and do the other bits that fills in. So obviously Nebworth, there's some CG crowd, but a lot of it is real Nebworth. A lot of it is our crowd. For some of the other ones in Royal Albert Hall, that's real crowd. We went back and shot there and matched the moves and matched the lighting and this kind of these kind of things.
It's interesting when we talked earlier about the London Film School,
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of starting there, actually more in the editing department.
I did some editing. I did some sound. On film. Sound on film, the little sprockety things, all of these kind of things, and then camera department. I got to learn about you open the iris a little bit when you shoot a bit faster.
Well, that was what kind of struck me, that the sort of technicalities, in a sense, of the cinematography and of making films kind of connects with you embracing the way this film was made is a combination of real lensing onto a real, we call it all real, onto a sensor.
Yeah.
And then that a lot of it is just that, but then there are elements where you're embracing how it's going to be manipulated, how the computer generating of mesh, of texture, and how that's all going to come together to create an image. And I think some people kind of resist that a bit, but I can see that where your TikTok mind goes, you can embrace that technology and use it for what it can be used, which is to create an extraordinary piece of expression, which couldn't be created in any other medium.
I agree. I mean, it's quite spectacular is kind of the. It's a lot about spectacle, but I think this thing about embracing, the tricky thing of being incredibly meticulous and precise about how you plan things, in order for a lot of it to seem like, that's just a little bit like that's just happened, that's just what it was. I think, at least I hope that's what comes across. The plan was, at least what we wanted to do was for it to feel a bit like a kitchen sink drama for most of it. We just happened to be there and follow, and that was then reflected in the lighting, there's a lot of handheld, there's a lot of reacting to just actors doing their thing, but of course, because of the scale of it, this had to be worked out quite a lot.
Yeah, and of course a huge amount of collaboration across the crew was very important.
Was very important, and a lot of the film was already either planned before I came on board. I came on board only 2 months before we started filming, and they'd planned, they storyboarded these kind of things. They've shot the film twice already in rehearsals on iPhones with like local theatre companies just to work on scenes. And then I come on board and go like, okay, well, how about this? How about this? Some of them, like musical numbers, they were more worked out. A lot of collaboration with the choreographer, who actually in quite a lot of the sequences actually held the camera while I operated remotely. So because he knows exactly where the camera needs to be for each beat, much better than anyone else. And he's been doing it for, practicing for a year, and knows what it wants to look like. And he's a dancer and built like a brick shithouse. So he's like, he'll never complain. He's sweating, loving it. The 12th hour, just this is the best day of my life. He was so happy with it.
And tough.
And just
Holding that.
full on. So I sat in my little chair with my coffee and operated. It was a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it. Especially, when we come to some of the numbers, it's things like that.
He was basically a grip.
Yeah,
getting in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. Either him or him in a grip on a. There's a lot of Ronin too. That's.
And
that
you're
kind of
remotely.
remotely.
The
head.
The Ronin within.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of context. So you're very much a twosome.
Yeah, 100%, and a lot of rehearsal.
Well in sync with
and a lot of just rehearsing and muscle memory before we actually get to shooting. That was a big part of it, because some of these numbers we only had. There were real concerts that we had to not film the stage because we'd already done that the night before, but then get the real audience. So all the take that concert when he wakes up asleep, real audience. We'd film the stage the night before for a lot of the shots, so we would repeat the shots and kind of insert that bit. Or we were on stage filming behind them out to real crowd.
Okay.
So, but in order to do that, we only had 6 minutes a night to do it. So.
And I suppose very particularly, we could move on to the biggest sequence of all, which I think everybody is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the story around how you captured that, and because that was, even the capture was over a long period, and encompassed the whole world, didn't it? In a sense. From one end of the world or one side to another side, and all then blended in together.
Yeah. And I wonder, I think, it'd be nice maybe. So, Regent Street sequence, Rock DJ is quite a fun number. It's almost, I think it's the only one where he's not interrupted by seeing himself. It's quite a joy. It's just an expression of pure joy, sort of, in a way. And I can maybe take you through some things. This is very rehearsed, but I have it on my computer, and I'll show you some bits of the planning of that.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting. What I've seen on it really interested me.
Okay.
Just the detail and the planning and the precisions and all of that kind of stuff. So let's, Joel, are you ready to pull the curtains back?
Let's see if this
hopefully,
might work.
Joel, our projectionist.
You all have to come in and look over my shoulder.
But the projectionists live up there, don't they? Oh, God. What is happening to this world? So, Joel helped us a lot to be able to make this kind of part of it work. So, take it away, Mr.
Take it away. I think we'll play a little bit of. Did you do the sound down a little bit? Yeah, great. Let's see if you can see this. I'll play a little bit. It's like I just did a 2-minute kind of little snippet. I'll just take you through the little bits and talk through it. Let's see if this works.
With the floor show, kicking with your torso. Boys getting high and the girls even more so. Wave your hands if you're not with a man. Can I kick it?
So I'll do this in little chunks. I can play it together at the end if you like. But first, it was conceived as it's showing the rise of Take That. So they want to show little bits and showing, there's more and more people. First, they come out the door, nobody knows who they are, and it's a time lapse, essentially. and they want to show it in lots of little scenes, and there's quite elaborate storyboard scene of this happening. But then Michael was like, I don't know, isn't it more fun if it just happens in one kind of real time? And then, choreographer Ash went and started working on choreography.
Was that your idea?
No. I wish it was, because it would, but you need this to come from up high, because this was a lengthy process. So that was, and then, they started ages ago. Then a year out, they started from actual filming on Regent Street. They started planning the choreography. A little bit of this. And then go on location to make sure the steps work, how many steps there are from this shop to that shop. Can we make this work? Is there enough light there? What do we need to change? Everything is seen in shot. What do we need to paint out? All these kind of things. Then all of that is done as a previs afterwards to make sure everything is hunky-dory in terms of they can do the animation, they've scanned the place. And then, the week before we shoot, we go into a giant hangar, we tape out Regent Street to scale. Everything is there, the camera, the crane, the handover rigs, everything is there. All the people, all the crew, all the dancers are there, so that we can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. Because we're allowed on Regent Street for 4 nights, from 11 till 6 a.m., and by 6 a.m., everything needs to be gone. And if we don't get off the street at the right time, they say, well, that's it, you can't film anymore. So there's a little bit, there's a hint of pressure, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And then, what do you call it, video tap. I tilted too high, so we need to adjust the racket afterwards, of course. That happens when DP operates. And then transition through, of course they selected, we did like 35 takes of the first one, 17 of the second, and this was never going to be a true one shot, because they have costume changes. We need to break it up because they have different, the rolly shoes for the gumballs kind of thing. And then, of course, this next bit here was actually filmed many months before in Australia. Kadraj or Artemis, there's a discussion happening right now. Which one is better? If you can't get a girl, but your best friend can, it's time to move your body. I don't wanna be sleazy, baby, just tease me, got no family plan. Houston, do you hear me? Grab the joke and you feel me, need permission to live. I don't wanna buy DJ, but you're making me feel so nice. Is it gonna stop? Enough of that, I think. We've seen that, but that's the. So those kind of things were in place throughout, kind of, for a year or 18 months.
Yeah.
Permissions and all these kind of things kind of needed to be in. The Queen died in the middle of it, so we got shut down right when we were about to shoot, the night before we were supposed to
Do
shoot.
we want to show anything else?
There'll be
Okay,
something else to show in a minute.
No. Curtains open.
That's okay. That's quite enough. Anyway, so it's just always, I always find it interesting because I never get to see much how other people work. And I've figured out a few ways of planning complex sequences that require, you know, timing and these kind of things. And especially with this crew on this job, this has been a big kind of, okay, I know at least some way of doing this now.
Yeah. Oh, it's open again.
It's coming back.
Yeah, it needs you.
So yeah, that's kind of, and it feels like, it seems like being there and doing everything, of course not everything for real, but a lot of it for real, rather than a green screen thing, or rather than something, just gives there is something with all departments focusing on that one, you know, the real life thing, and the energy and the nervousness and the sleepless nights and the anxiety that comes with that brings some kind of nervous energy and something quite, you know, it's quite a nice sequence.
Yeah.
It's a quite uplifting.
The main take in Regent Street, that was the last take?
Yeah, for the last one. So all the dancers at the end are all real. It's not a fake out. We just put the little angels up at the end, you know, because they weren't there for real. But you know, and the last night was the big crane out with all the people dancing, and we had to be off it at you know, we pushed it to 5:30. Then everything needs to be broomed out, and about 30 seconds before we have to be off the street, we rolled the last take, and that was actually the only good one.
Okay.
That was again DP operating. It feels like it was quite nerve-wracking.
I think we probably can close the curtains again, and we'll keep them closed.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So I think one of the things as cinematographers we particularly like to see is it's got a rhythm. Let's get up and dance. Is the way lighting works and texture in the image.
Yeah.
And I think you seem to do that really beautifully. And I think how did that work with the post, with the animator, the way they worked with the light, who was in control of that at that point? Because that was done after, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't there for that.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed anywhere near.
Okay.
So, but having done, you know, some CG main character movies before, the rules were quite different on this one, and where, you know, please use as normal things. I mean, it fits the Paddington movies, which has a CG main character, and this has a CG main character, but they couldn't sort of be further apart visually, I feel. And but you know, the aesthetic of the Paddington movie is very square, very composed, very considered. But one of the things that is interesting is you shoot a lot of empty plates, and then they put a bear in, and then that acts and performs, you know, beautifully, and as animators and visual effects company do, and it's a performance and all these things. One of the quite interesting differences between these two films is here we had a person, Jono, who you see for a little flash at the very end in Royal Albert Hall. He's the guy who turns around. He was actually the performing monkey. He was the character, and his character comes through. So we would shoot this film like absolutely normal. Focus pulling would happen when focus pulling normally happens, and because we always shot wide open, of course, there would be bits that would be slightly out of focus, and then it'd come back in, and all of that is reproduced exactly as how we shot it. They just did all the lighting and all the camera work and all the focus is exactly as it was shot. And only afterwards in grade and film out and these kind of things, you know, are things enhanced and altered in the way you would a normal film.
And I guess they'd got your style of lighting from the rooms, the way you lit the mum, the dad, the grand, you know, all those elements.
Exactly.
There's a lot of, and with the Spice Girl, you know, so there's a lot of very moody, beautiful light just kicking on somebody, you know, it's dark, but all you need is that little glint.
There was,
and that was quite a style
Yeah.
that you adopted?
Yeah, we used as little light as we could, or we used as much practical lighting as we could. So we didn't we'd put practical lights, but not use very much movie lights, which is right to some extent. But then, of course, some of these are sets that have been, they kind of use. So of course, you need to use. The boat is all on a green screen.
Yeah.
So you need to use. You need some movie lights, but not many. Most of it was just practical.
And it looks like you've got some little baby things.
Little things
let's
hidden
chuck
down.
one down there and
Yeah.
give it a little tweak, just to, because it's that whole thing of how do you approach lighting, space or face?
Yeah.
Face or space?
This was
And
a
there's
space.
a kind of old school, in a sense. I think I was very much brought up with, the face has got to be the one that captures the attention. But you seem to be able to, maybe these days it's easier, I don't know.
Well, maybe with digital, it could be. I think it's easier, and whatever it is, I sleep better because I know, you can kind of see things, and as you light to, you go into a space or into a location or whatever, you can kind of use. I have a little Komodo I use with a monitor, and I use that very often now. That's my kind of scout tool, and I do plates and I do things when we go on scouts, because the sun is always great. And the sunset is always beautiful on the scout and never on the shoot day. It's always overcast, no matter what. So that's I've slightly done away with traditional metering on a set basis. Pre-lights, fantastic. Then meter or camera, that's great to do. But for this film, it was always what are the let's walk around the space, find the angles, and of course, because so much handheld. It's very easy. If someone is a bit too silhouette-y, you can always just shift over a little bit. And you can then silhouette, you can create a little silhouette, or you can catch something, and you could go, that was a big kind of part of the process of making this.
So you did the operating on most of the film?
Most of the film. Apart from some of the big musical numbers, there was, of course, many operators. I need to kind of be on the image bank doing that, but I would always go out and do some. But we had a fantastic second unit DP, Matt Toll from Australia, who did some of the sequences and who did some operating. And it did, couldn't have made the film without him. We had two on-set editors who were there the whole time for all the musical numbers, who would cut things as we shot to make sure everything fit in. One of them also has a red camera. We would go out and do plates, little pickups, little things. Always someone. As I said, it's a very small kitchen sink independent movie.
Okay. And there's a bit of a story here, isn't there, on the lensing and the use of flare, of smoke, of stuff that usually is somewhat, don't go there with when you're doing CGI effects and stuff like that. They'll say, oh, well, But what was the story there of the lensing?
We had, having only worked with the director once before in a commercial, we used some Canon FDs, I think, that had, reasonable flares. And he quite liked it on the commercial. Maybe we should look at those for this film. And I went to a little rental company in Australia, and he said, how about these? And fully uncoated Sigmas, they're crazy. You take them in a test room, and they're just, this is too much. This is way too much. Then you take them on location, and they go, oh yeah, this is quite interesting. Veiling flare, crazy flares from everything. What I quite liked about it was, even if you move a little bit and you hit a slightly different light, the whole color of the image would change. I mean, it's a nightmare for if you want to match things and grade and, that kind of thing, because everything changes. But what was very nice, what both Michael and I liked about it was, it really feels like, we're there and we're reacting. Again, this thing of trying to root it back to just following this guy around. And we were very nervous because Weta, who did all the visual effects, they were coming over, but the visual effects supervisor couldn't come. He was still on Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor, one of those. And when he came, we showed him some stills that were just obliterated by all kinds of, shooting through glass, all the things that were popular some years ago. And he was like, oh yeah, great. And we went, what? Yeah, great, do that. Atmos, yeah, do all of it. And it was like, yeah, we'll take it as a challenge. We'll build some new tools. It's fine. We'll sort it all out. Oh, okay. Yeah. And I think in the end, everything is still in there. And even in the things that are fully CG that they did, they just copied all the lens flare. They got all the data and they mimicked the style and all of this, exactly. Yeah. As much as they could, which is very lucky. I've never had that before or after.
So presumably the Sigmas were rehoused.
No, these are all new.
How was the focus on?
Yeah, they were all new, all new. The modern kind of Sigmas, and we used some Gecko lenses, and we had some homemade lenses with a wide-angle adapter and some, Petzvolds, and we tried everything, and shooting through things. They were like, yeah, please.
That was your 2-week prep.
Yeah, that was it. We tried as much as we could to break it and see if there's anything they couldn't do, but they, for some reason. So when anyone now says, no, that's impossible, we can't track it, we can't do this, they can. It's just time and money, probably time and money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've got AI coming our way as well.
I'm sure that's,
to help speed up that process and hopefully not take us all out in the process as well. But okay. So, do you have a? This is very techie. Bloody hell! Did I really write this? Metering.
Metering.
It's a question when I sit out there, listening to QAs over here. Yeah. I often want to ask but it seems too techie to ask, shout out.
I mean, it's maybe the audience
I'm
for
in
it.
charge today. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favourite way of metering? The waveform or the
very good.
The false colour?
False colour.
Okay.
And DIT on a thing.
Okay.
That's
do you have a DIT with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very, very often on most of this we did for the normal shooting. Concerts we didn't, of course it was there, but then it's too late to do anything. You just charge ahead and you go hell for leather. And by then hopefully you learn your camera well enough that you know what's what. But yeah, false color is quite good. I like that. I prefer that. Waveform is too complicated for me.
Yeah, it's too like, which bit is that?
I didn't learn that in school.
Yeah. No, if it's a nice flat image, you can do it. But okay. So we're getting along quite well, really. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think one question is that there's one car sequence, the nightmare car sequence when he drives away, and there's all that stuff. How on earth was that done?
I mean, I ran next to the car for miles. No, as soon as he goes through the gate, we did some plates.
Okay.
And the bus is real. All of that is CG.
The bus?
The bus is real with the actors inside, the dad inside.
But is that on a plate?
That's just a plate with us tracking. No.
No.
All of that that whole sequence and going into the water was just, we worked out shots and that kind of thing, but that whole chunk is all CG. They built everything.
All CG?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of it. Just a lot of concept. The Joel Chang, who's the designer, was a concept artist on Michael's first film. And he came on board and they worked out a lot of things and all of that, sadly, is CG. I would have liked to have done lots of it, but we didn't have time.
Robbie was all CG in the car?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't the actor as the...
not in that bit, just out of the gates and when he takes the watermelon and all these kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah, all of that was CG, I'm afraid.
But it's very... It seems very fluid and it doesn't jump at all, does it? I mean,
I hope not.
I suppose they could have done the whole thing CG.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely, and what is interesting is because they can do things, I think, amazingly well, but then, but what are the, I don't know, where is the, I don't know, maybe it's possible. But what are the things that connects you to character and story, and the kind of the visceral movement that happens?
Yeah.
Who invents that, or where is that invented? I mean, obviously they can do amazingly photorealistic and amazing things, and extraordinary films are done in animation, all in computer. So
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't really, I don't think that is the kind of, that shouldn't hinder the storytelling. And I would have loved to shot that bit because it was quite fantastical.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ones we didn't shoot.
But the whole film is embedded in the real, isn't it?
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. And also, in order to kind of mesh the two, everything was spat out to film and then scanned back in. And different processes, different stocks. There's when they go into the gay club, when they get their first kind of gig, that's all reversal. It starts a bit more grainy at the start. Then we go to gentler stocks and maybe into DI stocks. DI? Yes, DI stocks. Later, there's some camera negative. There's all kinds of different processes. But so the whole film has been through a film bath at some point, and then back in order to kind of meld these two. All of it.
Oh.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do a cheap version of that.
Yeah, to just film a screen.
Use a 16mm on my,
It's
on
really,
my 4K telly.
That works. That works. Telly is not so good. Projection works.
Projecting, yeah.
Yeah. Scan lines. It's not so good. We've tried that as well.
Well, we'll come down here and do it. Okay, so let's see if there are any questions now. I'm not watching the football. This is a clever little thing that is taking Erik's voice and turning it into words straight away. Bit of AI. Because you probably guessed, very hard of hearing. So this is my bit for disabilities. Don't take any notice of them. Just work around them. So, but at this stage, I probably won't hear. Well, I might. I've even got my own speaker here for questions. But I think we'll have to rely for questions. And we've got a hand there already.
Straight
My
up.
goodness. We hadn't even asked for them.
Hiya.
Hello.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for a gorgeous film. It's incredible. What a journey, really. Cinematography, obviously gorgeous. You granted out with some amazing, iconic visuals that I reckon will stay with us for generations. Some of the shots are just
That's good.
absolutely stunning. So thank you for an amazing work. Just quickly to ask two questions. One is, what was your biggest challenge, aside from the Regent Street sequence?
Yeah.
I reckon it was quite a big challenge for yourself. But other than that, what was your biggest challenge? And secondly, what was a sequence or a scene that you really enjoyed filming, whether you operated yourself or someone else was operating on a running or whatever, but one thing that you really enjoyed making, that is memorable for you. Thanks.
I think, handily, they go together. I think, Regent Street was a big challenge. There was a lot, time limit and all these kind of things. But even, I think, possibly more, but it's difficult to show, is the Royal Albert Hall sequence, because that was the first thing we shot in Australia, which was the floor and the stage and the orchestra and all these kind of things. And then we had to go to Royal Albert Hall 9 months later and shoot a Robbie Williams concert, where he asked everyone to dress in black tie, which they were for this concert we're trying to recreate. And then we had to redo all the shots we'd done in Australia exactly at the right, distance, time code, to lighting changes, but, in the whatever 9 minutes the song is. So that we had to kind of shoehorn that into a Robbie Williams concert. And we had 2 nights. The first night was a total write-off. It didn't work at all. And then the second night, it was actually, luckily it worked out, but with fantastic, operators and who would match perfectly something that we shot on a crane, that would match on a steady cam. Couldn't get the camera in a real place. You had to kind of make it up. There's a small techno crane fits in one of those little booths up in, if you ever need, I have measurements, for the opening shot and all that kind of stuff. But also that meant we got to go to Royal Albert Hall, which I haven't been in much for, days and days and days. And that was quite a nice one. But there was a lot of good sequences. Funeral scene, that was great. It was an empty field, blue sky, and we sat and we waited for that one little puff of cloud, and we'd roll and it would dim and shoot, and then it would come back out. And you go, oh yeah, actually it's overcast. Yeah, it's good. We added rain towers and stuff, and then we'd sit and wait for 2 more hours. Yeah. That took 3 days instead of 1.
Where were you?
This was out in the sticks outside Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's usually the other way around.
It's usually the other way. You have great sun, but this was, we had to wait for overcast in Melbourne. Yeah.
Okay, so any other questions out there?
There's one back there.
One out there. Okay.
G'day, thank you. Yes, very much a journey. And actually one of the things I wanted to ask you was if you can talk through the process of creating those very seamless transitions between scenes, like, for example, in the sequence where you're watching Take That sort of evolve and go through their journey. And then, the whole film is a journey in itself, but it just sort of, the camera goes in it jibs under or goes under a table, and then it comes out and it's in a different location. And so I'm assuming that it's obviously a combination of yourself, VFX, but what is the process of actually getting that together?
A lot of that is just rehearsing and doing a lot of takes, and with an on-set editor who has resolve, and we'll go, you were 2 frames late. Oh, okay, and then you're holding and you're doing some of it handheld, and you go, this is maybe 2 frames earlier. Yeah, you panned a bit too far to the right. There's a dear friend of mine, Patrick Correll, who was there and is one that, co-produced. He's fantastic. But it was that kind of thing, it was just a lot of time. So the thing when we first meet Take That and we introduced to them, it was supposed to be a slightly more seamless, I think, sequence, but we built this studio we tried to find one. We built a studio with mirrors, and we built it so you could open the mirrors and then you could see them kind of in their workshop or their dance studio. And we built it so you could just open them and the camera could stay in the same place and you would be perfectly the mirror image, but by now there was a set of a bank or whatever. And then we get there on the first day and you're trying to line it up and you slide the mirror out of the way and it's off. And you go like, what the? But we've done all the calculations, we've done everything right. And then someone goes, hang on, just get me a tape measure, and you measure, and it's one set is 3 feet deeper than the other. And then you go back to doing what you always do, which is just line it up and match it by eye. And you go, oh, what was the point of that? We could just build one half of it. It's, these things happen.
Yeah.
Still, even if you're trying to plan. But, the other things worked quite well, I think.
Oh, we all think.
Yeah.
Very well. It was a triumph. Absolute triumph. Okay.
Anything else? Beers? Yes? No? All right.
Any other curious folk out there?
Which camera?
Pardon?
Camera?
Mini LF. Yeah. Yeah, that was it for most of it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Okay, so
One more.
Sorry, it's not my area, but you mentioned some film intermediate, and why do you do those, or why the production did those things?
Okay. So this was from the start. We shoot digital because of the this would be too complicated for us and too expensive to shoot on film, because we knew a lot of it had to be many takes. I mean, on the first day of shooting, we used 35 terabytes of ARRI Alexa cards. It was like, oh, this is it. Now we're in trouble. So we shot everything digitally, and then knowing that at the end we'd spit it out to film, and then scan it back in, so that it would have gone through a film process. And by doing that, when all the visual effects are done, you have something that maybe, if it stays digital, is a little, it might stick out a little bit. I mean, there's like 1,900 shots or something. It's like there's a lot of visual effect shots for a small independent movie. So actually going to film very nicely, not only blended the two together, but it has I really liked the texture of it and what it is to quite a lot of the colors. And we were like, oh, great. Yeah, let's do that for all of it.
Well, the whole film is
Out to when it's finished, everything out to film, different processes, different reels, are different things, different sequences, are different stocks, different processes. Yeah.
Where did the slight graininess of the early life, was that genuine film grain, or was that, okay.
Yeah. We tried different ones. We tried, live grain and tried resolve grain and things like that, but everything comes from that, the film process.
Okay. Under and overexposing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is brilliant. It's totally brilliant what you made. But the film out, you said were you mixing stocks on the film out, or were you just using a straight print stock? So how did you track that in the DI, like to predict where it was going?
Oh, it was not. It was tested and tried, and this sequence, let's do that with this.
So you had a sort of an almost conversion that you knew you would get. So
and then and then of course,
and then did it for real
and massaged in afterwards.
It worked extraordinarily well.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Really
I always wonder, because sometimes it feels, it's quite different. I've seen the comparison of digital versus the film out, and I really like it. It does take it down. Resolution, it goes down a lot, but I
think your point about it bedding in the VFX is absolutely on point. It really helps.
Yeah,
I thought the VFX, the face just kept on being brilliant all the way through.
I really like the character, and this is all the performance of Jono, the actor. It's all him. I recognize his acting in all of this. It's all his kind of thing, and what they've done to the face and the eyes is Robbie Williams' eyes. This kind of thing. Yeah. And they went very human. There's a lot of, he has eyebrows. Monkeys don't have eyebrows. And they've done this very human, and then they go more and more monkey as, the further out they go. That was one of the things they tried, of course, tested a lot.
Yeah. They also changed the structure of the mouth, became more Robbie Williams as it went on. Is that?
That's very possible. That's maybe a bit deeper than I realize. But
That was brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. One up there and one there and one there. So
in the DI process, did you use 16 anywhere?
No.
5 minutes.
Yeah, no. All 35. Was that the same question from 3? There's one there in the middle.
Thank you. That was very inspiring. My name's Sarah Thomas Moffat. I'm really happy to be here. So on that note of his eyes, I kept thinking about the close-ups because they're very beautiful. It was very moving in a lot of parts. When you're dealing with something as heavy VFX on someone's face like that, and you're lighting, and there's a lot of beautiful flares and a lot of emotion and all of those very big close-ups that are so big on the screen. How are you thinking about that process when you're actually in the act of lighting and capturing that on the human before it becomes the other character?
That's a very good question. That's a very, very good question. Because what happens is, and it's a bit like I feel about, the monkey in the film. I forget that it's a monkey very quickly. And it was exactly the same with Jono. He was in a grey suit, sometimes with tracking markers, sometimes not. Sometimes he had a camera, one of those kind of visual effects cameras in his face. But we tend to do that just for a take or two and then take it off. So then we could get the good eye lines and, he wouldn't obscure too many things. And I would just react to him as I would, anyone. As in, he was the actor, he just happened to be in a grey suit, and that was it. And then that's what they recreated later. So what was great about this is that we had an actor with the correct eye lines. We used his eyes as the eye line for all the other actors. We didn't have to cheat with a little mark. They were like, okay, if we're going to do this, we have to do it in the most simple analog way we can. So that was that's a good question, but that's what we did.
Also different skin tones too, which is really interesting. Like the actor versus the ape, right? You're dealing with the different. I could talk about it forever. But
Yeah. No, absolutely, because he has, fur, and it's a different. Of course, his muzzle, is it? His kind of thing, and the light hits differently. So, obviously, visual effects have taken that into consideration with how we dealt with lighting on set, and help that blend in. The eye sits differently, so there's only so many things. But we gave them, this is what we're recreating, this is what we shot, this is the emotion we want from this, and make it so, I guess.
I think they probably loved imitating your lighting.
What was interesting, a lot of people who worked in visual effects were very, very excited about the challenge of it, and they found it because there's one voice of notes.
Yeah.
There's the directors, and that's it. There's no producers who had notes for anything. So they were like, this is brilliant. Yeah. And also differently, a slight kind of technical thing is, normally you do visual effects film, you very often work on one shot, separately. Here, they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do a sequence of shots. And when you've completed the sequence, then we'll give notes. Because then you can work on a performance rather than on an individual, like a 2-second shot of someone doing this. And you go, I don't know. Was that good? Should the arm be higher? Maybe. I don't know. And so they would work on the whole sequence. And that was, part of the process of doing this, which seemed to work well.
Yeah, I think we've got to stop.
I think we've got to have a beer.
We've got to stop. I think we've had an incredible evening, watched an absolutely stunning film with the sharp point, long explaining, and in giving of his knowledge and everything. So.
Thanks for coming.